Hey data fans, Reed here. Today I want to walk through one of the other guides that I've written recently on the idea of extensibility layer objects. Now in a previous post, I talked about report and visual scoped measures, which discussed how downstream items for things like titles, charts, and other elements belonged in a report layer for the measures that you created. This one's going to talk about physically materialized things like columns, tables, other stuff that you might need to add from a modeling perspective, but may or may not necessarily belong in a core model and might need to be somewhere downstream at an organizational department level or segment level, or even in an individual report model using composite modeling. So with that being said, let's hop into the guide and get started. So as I mentioned, I want to walk through one of the interactive guides that I've built on extensibility layer objects, which talks through how to extend your semantic model via composite modeling. So the idea behind this, scrolling down into here, discusses it from a perspective of 3 layers. We have our report layer, our domain and department layer, and the core semantic model layer, kind of 3 levels of this. Now the core model, or your semantic model, is going to be generally that connected model that you have hosted centrally, usually with a series of most shareable items that would cover the broadest amount of reports and other models that would need to be connected to it. The core shared items. Now, one level below that, at the department level, that's going to be an extensibility layer. Often you can have a composite model that's going to have specific groups, dimension tables, calculations, or field parameters that might belong to a team or a section of the org. Now, at the very single level is report scoped, which again can actually have a composite model, but those are often going to be field parameters, calculation groups, other stuff that is needed only for a single report, kind of at a one-to-one pairing. Continuing the conversation between those two, at department level versus single report patterns, things that you can identify. In front of us, you might see that some of the common patterns at the department level might be such as a financial team calculation group for variances, time comparisons, a sales field parameter, custom fiscal calendars, things that would make sense for multiple reports where you'd want to ideally centralize that composite model for that. Now, getting to more specifics for single report composite models, some of the common patterns that you'll see for those where a composite model is needed, but it's more of a one-to-one for the report, might be something like, as the first line item there, an executive dashboard with custom KPI switching, maybe like a what if slider for budget forecast scenarios, and a few others mentioned in there. But the idea being is that the item added is fairly specific to a particular person or report page that really doesn't have any upstream items yet. Now, the other thing that I'll mention with this is that at some point, the composite model for a single report could eventually become a departmental composite model if you eventually start adding more individual live reports connected to that and have a mid-tier centralization for that model. So you can upgrade and move the paths of their location to try to centralize that information. Now, questions that you can consider asking yourself on which pattern should you use. A couple of ones to start out with to help you along. Something like, will others need this? So if multiple reports need the same object, probably use departmental. Is it experimental? Testing something new or starting with a single report? Same kind of idea on those as well. And then last one for this section is maybe who maintains it. So department level does require shared ownership. So as long as there is a clear line of ownership and governance around it, that's something I would recommend as well to have at the department level. So good questions to start the conversation, and maybe think about between these 2 levels, where should I put these extensibility items? Continue on the conversation. What are the objects that can create composite models? So I've mentioned the term already, but field parameters, those things that let you switch measures or categorical fields in a visual, those often will belong at one of those levels, and probably the most common one that I develop for my clients. Calculation groups as well, similar to field parameters, and I would recommend checking out the info guides page that we have. I do have a very good article that actually helps compare field parameters and calculation groups, because they have some overlap and some important differences. But these things that let you transform and add calculation items, year to date, quarter to date, ways to have a slicer to change your filter context for the measures themselves. The original parameter type that we had for many years now in Power BI, the WhatIf parameters, where you have a slider that lets you make a forecast adjustment or analysis. What if my budget was 60%? What if my budget was 130%? Things like that for the WhatIf parameter. A few others are custom calendars. So if you have a special calendar or any other dimension table that's needed, that's going to be custom, again, for the report of the department. Those are some examples that we have here of the types of things that you would add. And then last but not least, disconnected tables. So these switch true statements or if statements, if you have for a measure where you need to switch stuff around. Field parameters have largely taken over the role for this, but sometimes they're still needed for slicer selections and a few other stuff, or to toggle special DAX measures that are harvesting a value. So they are still use cases for those, but they have no relationships, and they're usually meant to be used in a slicer or a filter somewhere. And a little final consideration down here, visual calculations. They are an extensibility item. You are adding logic to the model. They kind of sit to me in a hybrid between visual scoped measures and this section, because they are their own special beast. They belong in a measure itself, and it's more of a report layer object, but just something to kind of mention here as a note in case you're not familiar with those. All right, moving on to the next section, kind of a breakdown of the feature comparison. This one works really well where it helps to outline what works in Excel. An important thing that I want to call out here is the fact that the works in Excel for field parameters, it does not have that ability to work in Excel. This is something that only works in Power BI. Same with the WhatIf parameters, but it gives you a good conversation if you're trying to decide what features do you or do you not need. This helps you kind of understand a little bit of that between those. So information here for you to help just digest the do's and don'ts and the where nots. And a little couple of footnotes just to mention as well in here for just further details on the feature comparison. Some trade-offs and benefits. I'll go through a couple of ones that stand out for me here. Big benefit, again, is increased interactivity with the reports and the clients that are going to be using this, or the users. So you really are using these primarily to enhance the report design and to add better features, more interactions, and a curation of getting that report exactly as needed. And it really does keep a core clean model for this. Now, some considerations as well. You do have to use composite modeling, so depending on the needs for your organization, if you have that turned on or off, things to consider. Some of the refresh changes, behavior changes might occur because these do technically have a refresh schedule. Granted, if you're using field parameters and calculation groups only, you won't need to have separate refreshes for those. But if it's pulling from anywhere where the data is changing, so a special custom table at the dimension level or anything else, those do need to have a refresh, and you want to make sure to time that appropriately with the core model connected to those. And of course, maintenance can increase overhead as well, and testing is generally good to have. But this gives you a nice little breakdown of things to think about for benefits, but also some considerations as well. Moving down a bit on performance and query behavior. So ones that generally have no to minimal impact, field parameters and WhatIf parameters, sometimes simple disconnected tables, those are usually not meant to add much of a performance difference. They will work approximately as fast as the original measures that they point at, as long as you're not showing more than one measure at a time. But generally, they're designed to not add much of a performance impact. Things that kind of go into the medium level, I would say complex disconnected tables and or calculation groups. Calculation groups, because you are adding logic to the measure, you're adding, removing, or modifying filters. So due to that complexity, depending on how you're writing your calculation groups, they may or may not decrease or increase the speed of some of the measures. So things to be more cautious and careful of. And then one would be in the higher impact, custom calendar tables, because that does add additional relationships. And depending on the design of the core model, you need to be careful on the types of relationships. Is it a one-to-many, one-to-many bidirectional, a many-to-many relationship, and considerations around special measures that might have been added to the core model as well. So because of that, I put that into the higher category. And nesting composite models. So sometimes people will chain them a lot. So from a core model to an organizational to single report, that will add performance cost as well. So be careful when chaining together your composite models. Choosing the right model object. I would say if you need to switch between objects and types and measures, field parameters and calc groups are a great dynamic switch type of feature. If you need scenario analysis, that will essentially be your WhatIf parameters. If you need specialized time logic, either custom calendars or calculation groups. If you need report-specific configurations, things like slicers, options for changing ranges, but that's a fixed categorical list, top-end filters, or lookup values. disconnected tables will probably fit that category. A few things to avoid potentially. So if you need Excel as an endpoint for your data, you want to skip field parameters and WhatIf groups. Again, those are Power BI only as a feature. Chaining composite models. Generally, pretty much anytime you just want to avoid that overall, regardless of which one of these you're adding. Just try to avoid chaining composite modeling, as it will start to cause a lot of slowdown with your direct query connections. And then the core business logic. So generally, again, with any of these items, we want to try to keep that out of the core model. So if and when possible, you either have this at the report scope level or the department level. The only time it should ever be moved to the main centralized core model is if you know it's going to be used by the vast majority of the reporting that those models are going to be serving. A couple of pro tips as well that I want to go over. So start with a single report, start as downstream as possible and move its way up as you test and confirm that this is working and it goes from experimental to a deliverable need. Documenting your architecture as you go through this, keeping that written down somewhere or in some type of a centralized center of excellence. Testing the composite model behavior for performance considerations is going to be really important as well. Considering future reuse and what level you want to keep this at to allow for the highest amount of reusability if that's applicable. Surfacing key objects at the top. So I have a tendency to name my calculation groups and my field parameters starting with a period. That will sort my measures table at the top. Any of my custom slicers and other stuff that are more extensibility objects, those get grouped together because they're all prefixed with a period or maybe an underscore or something. And then my regular tables, my dimensions, my facts, all get loaded at the bottom of that data list if you're building reporting. And name with type and intent. So clear patterns. As you can see here, I've often named my calculation groups and then suffixed with the name of the thing that it's doing. So calc group, time intelligence, parameter, metric selection helps to identify the goal of the items that essentially you're going to be having in those for the model for anybody that is self-service reporting. A couple of common gotchas. A big one is field parameters don't pass downstream. It's a limitation today. It might change in the future, but essentially, if you have a core model with a field parameter and you composite it, the field parameter in the core model turns into a regular table and you can stop using it. You have to stop using it as a field parameter. It breaks. So because of that, I generally recommend field parameters not be kept in a core model, kept in a downstream composite model at the department or at the single report level. Calculation group precedence. So when multiple calculation groups are applied, the precedence rules will determine the order of evaluation. So just be careful of that with that setting that is set into the model. The WhatIf values will reset with each session that a user has. So they are transient and just cached when a user is interacting with them, but there's no write back or anything else. They are just temporary to have a short-term scenario to explore the data, not anything that can be saved or written, so to speak. Custom calendar, relationship conflicts, I mentioned that earlier. Just be careful when you're adding new tables, new relationships to a core model that you're not 100% clear on its design. You might end up with relationship conflicts or other things. So when adding tables with new relationships, just be considerate of that. Disconnected tables will need explicit measures. Normally, they're funneling a table that uses a variable, selected value, and something else to point to the disconnected table to grab the value. So it usually requires both a table and measure pairing to make one of those. And then last but not least, composite model refresh timing. If you do need a composite model that has a table that needs refreshed from any other source, ensure that the timing of that is staggered and typically slightly after the core model refresh time. But otherwise, hopefully this gave you a nice overview of extensibility layer objects, when, where, and how to use them, and what they are. As always, if you have any comments or suggestions about this video, future videos, drop that in the comments section down below. Check out some of our related content here in the upper right. And as always, liking, commenting, and subscribing will help this channel grow. So with that, I will see you in our next video.